Hidden within the most ordinary crystal lies a mystery so profound that it can reshape the destiny of an entire life. The pink Himalayan salt, born from ancient seas and carried through millennia, holds within its silent grains the memory of the earth itself. Helena Blavatsky, the voice of the timeless wisdom, revealed that matter is never only matter. It is condensed energy, a mirror of invisible forces, a key to doors we have forgotten exist. What if a simple jar filled with these sacred crystals could become a living guardian, absorbing shadows, dissolving the heaviness that suffocates the soul, and opening paths to peace, clarity, and prosperity? This is not superstition. It is an ancient law rediscovered by sages across civilizations and now whispered again to you. Blavatsky taught that the visible world is but a veil, and that every object can serve as a bridge to the invisible currents that shape our fate. The pink Himalayan salt is more than a mineral. It is a vessel of purification, a fragment of cosmic memory, a silent sentinel waiting to be awakened by intention. Imagine the tensions of your home melting away like mist before the dawn, arguments dissolving into calm, the stagnant air becoming light again. Picture opportunities flowing toward you with the same inevitability as rivers return to the sea. This transformation begins with a gesture so simple yet so charged with meaning that once performed, it can never be undone. The crystals listen, they respond, and when placed with reverence and silence, they begin to weave a new order within your life. At this very moment, your mind is searching for answers. Why does this work? Why does something so small carry such immense power? Helena Blavatsky herself would remind you that symbols are the language of the soul, and that when you engage with a symbol consciously, you are no longer a prisoner of chance. You become a co-creator with the universe. The pink Himalayan salt is not only matter, it is symbol, it is law, it is energy, and it is waiting to serve as your invisible guardian. What you are about to discover is not folklore but a spiritual science, tested through generations and guarded by tradition. And if you stay with me until the end, you will not only understand the mystery, you will hold the key to transform your own destiny. There are moments when life feels like a closed circle, where every effort seems to collapse into the same frustrations, the same disappointments, the same invisible wall. You may know this sensation well: the endless cycle of arguments at home, the constant pressure of money that disappears as quickly as it arrives, the feeling that luck belongs to others, but not to you. It is as if an unseen weight has settled over your shoulders, a heaviness that you cannot name, yet you carry it every day. And perhaps you have wondered in silence, why does abundance never stay? Why does peace always slip away? In that silence, you are not alone. For centuries, sages, mystics, and seekers confronted the same invisible barriers, and among them, Helena Blavatsky raised her voice to reveal what hides behind the veil of ordinary life. She taught that the visible world is only the surface, and that every shadow we feel, every heaviness we endure, has roots in forces that act beyond our sight. What we call misfortune is not random. What we call lack is not chance. They are reflections of subtle currents that penetrate the walls of our homes and our very thoughts. And here lies the first revelation. These forces can be changed, they can be transmuted, they can be purified, and the instrument of this transformation is not far away. It does not demand wealth or complex rituals. It waits for you in silence, disguised in its simplicity. The pink Himalayan salt, a fragment of ancient seas, crystallized through ages, carrying within it the memory of the earth and the power to absorb and dissolve the invisible poisons of life. Now imagine this. You take a simple glass jar and fill it with these pale pink crystals. You place it quietly in your home, no one noticing, no words spoken. And slowly, something changes. The air feels lighter. Conversations that once exploded into conflict soften. You breathe differently. It is as if a silent guardian has taken its post, unseen, yet watching, absorbing, transforming. Can a handful of crystals really hold such power? Or is it your mind, your intention, your spirit awakening to a truth you always carried within? This question is the first key, for Blavatsky always insisted that symbols are not objects, but mirrors. The pink Himalayan salt is a symbol alive, and when you engage with it, you are not dealing with mere matter, but with a force that responds. Consider for a moment how many cultures, across continents and centuries, turned to salt in their most sacred acts. Why did Egyptians use it in their rites of eternity? Why did Japanese traditions guard their doors with small mounds of salt? Why did the sages of Judaism place it beside the bread of covenant? Could they all be victims of superstition? Or did they glimpse a law that science has not yet measured? Blavatsky would answer that these customs are fragments of one eternal wisdom, scattered like stars in the night sky. Each tradition knew that within the crystal lies an echo of the infinite, a capacity to absorb shadow and channel light. And now this echo reaches you, asking whether you too will awaken to its call. You might resist. Your mind might say, "This is too simple, too ordinary." But is it not true that the most extraordinary forces are always hidden in the simplest forms? Fire in a spark, oceans in a drop, life itself in a seed. Why then should it surprise us that the pink Himalayan salt carries the weight of protection and renewal? And why, if it were only superstition, do people across the world report the same changes? A man in Veracruz swears his home became calmer after placing a jar behind his door. A woman in Kyoto whispers that her restless nights ended when she left salt by her bedside. These are not isolated coincidences. They are signs of a law universal, waiting to be recognized. But here lies the conflict that must hold you. If the salt truly has this power, why do so few use it? Why do so many continue to drown in the same frustrations? The answer is unsettling. Knowledge without faith is nothing. The crystal responds not to skepticism, but to intention. It is not the jar that saves, but the conscious act of creating a guardian, of saying to the unseen forces, "Here is the boundary, here is the filter, here is the space of my peace." Blavatsky taught that energy follows thought. And so, when you prepare this ritual in silence, when you allow the pink Himalayan salt to become more than matter, you are shaping the invisible. You are declaring that the cycle will not continue. You are placing a key into a hidden lock. Yet still, questions remain. Where exactly must this guardian stand? How does its position alter its strength? Can it truly block envy, dissolve tension, attract prosperity? Or is it all an inner illusion that bends reality in your favor? Perhaps both. For the inner and the outer are never separate. The salt does not act alone. It awakens your consciousness, and together they rewrite the atmosphere of your life. That is why you must listen closely now, because the placement of these crystals will decide what doors open and what doors remain closed. As you sit with this thought, let yourself feel the anticipation. If a simple jar can change the air of a home, what else might it change? If tension can vanish, what new possibilities might arrive? And if the invisible can be purified, what hidden opportunities are already waiting at your door? Do not let your mind dismiss these questions too quickly, for every doubt you hold is the very shadow the salt is meant to dissolve. Trust that you are hearing this now because the time has come. Nothing happens by chance, and no symbol appears in your life without purpose. Blavatsky once said that those who are ready will always meet the truth, no matter how quietly it approaches. The pink Himalayan salt is approaching you now, in silence, but with power. What you do with this knowledge is the first step. Will you continue the cycle of weight and frustration, or will you awaken the guardian within your home? The choice is yours. And this choice will open the path to the next revelation, where the secret of placement is revealed. Stay with me, because what comes next will show you how to transform a simple jar of crystals into a sentinel that protects, purifies, and calls prosperity into your life. Across the centuries, human beings have always searched for signs, for patterns that could explain why life flows in certain directions. And when we look carefully, we find that the answers were always present in the most simple, humble elements of nature. Helena Blavatsky taught that there are no coincidences, only laws that the ordinary eye cannot yet perceive. She believed that the pink Himalayan salt is more than a mineral. It is a fragment of the eternal memory of the earth, a living symbol that connects us to forces beyond comprehension. Different peoples, distant in time and space, somehow reach the same conclusion. This crystal is not only for food, it is for the soul. Think of the Egyptians, who placed salt in the tombs to protect the journey of the spirit. Consider the ancient Japanese, who still place small mounds of salt at the entrance of houses and temples to invite good fortune and keep away invisible shadows. Reflect on the Jewish tradition, where bread is dipped in salt to seal an eternal covenant, and remember the Mexican grandmothers, who placed a discreet jar of salt in the kitchen, whispering prayers so that bread and peace would never be missing from the table. So many cultures, so many languages, but the same truth repeated. Within the pink Himalayan salt lives a power to purify, to protect, to call abundance. Could so many generations have been deceived? Or is it we who have forgotten what they knew so well? Now let us bring this ancient wisdom into daily life. Imagine a woman living in a small apartment in the middle of a noisy city. She works hard, but every night when she returns home, she feels an invisible heaviness, as if the air itself is tired. Her children argue, her sleep is shallow, her energy never restores. Then, after learning of this old practice, she places a small glass jar of pink Himalayan salt in the corner of her living room. No one pays attention, but after a few days, the air feels lighter. The quarrels reduce. She herself feels calmer, as if she can breathe again. This is not magic in the childish sense. It is transformation in silence, a conversation between her intention and the hidden forces of the world. Or think of a man drowning in financial difficulties, carrying the weight of unpaid bills. He places a jar of pink Himalayan salt behind the door, uncertain and skeptical. Days later, a delayed payment suddenly arrives, and an opportunity he had given up on reopens. He cannot explain it logically, yet he feels the difference in his own house. The air is not the same, and his heart is not the same. The crystals acted as a filter, dissolving energies that blocked his path. Such testimonies echo across cultures, whispering that something ancient still breathes in the present moment. But here is where the suspense grows stronger. If so many knew of this power, why does almost no one speak of it now? Perhaps because the greatest truths are always hidden in plain sight, waiting only for those who are ready to see. Blavatsky said that symbols are like doors. They only open for the ones who knock with sincerity. The pink Himalayan salt is a door, and once you walk through it, your house and your spirit will never be the same. But to activate this law, you must declare your intention. You must allow your words to vibrate with the same frequency as your desire. This is why I ask you now to perform a small but powerful act. Write in the comments the sentence, "I open my home and my heart to abundance." Do not underestimate this gesture. When you write, you give shape to your intention. You carve it into reality. The act of writing is not passive, it is creative. It declares to the universe that you are ready. And as you write, you join others in a wave of intention that multiplies and returns to you even stronger. This is not a request for me. It is a ritual for you. And if you feel that something is moving inside you, then take the next step. Look to the corner of your screen, where the red button waits. Only the chosen will click on that red button. Only the ones ready to step beyond doubt and fear. Only the ones who truly wish to be blessed. If you are one of them, press it now and seal your place in this circle of light. For as Blavatsky said, every action is a seed, and those who plant with faith will harvest in abundance. You see, the story is not about crystals alone. It is about your willingness to awaken the guardian that waits inside your own house and within your own soul. The pink Himalayan salt is the bridge, but the crossing is yours to choose. And as you continue with me, you will learn that not only the crystal itself, but the place where it rests, decides what door will open next. That is the mystery waiting for you in the next part. When Fatima placed the jar of pink Himalayan salt in her home, she did not expect a miracle. At first, she almost forgot about it, treating the act as a small experiment, nothing more. But in the silence of the following days, subtle shifts began to happen. The house no longer carried the same tension. The arguments with her family softened, as if the air itself whispered for peace. She noticed her breathing changed. It was easier, calmer, more complete. There was no loud sign, no dramatic event, only a quiet reordering of life, like a melody correcting itself after being out of tune. Slowly she realized the jar was not just standing there. It was acting. It had become a silent guardian, an ally invisible yet powerful, shaping the atmosphere without needing to be seen. Blavatsky would explain that such transformations are not coincidences. Energy, she said, always moves according to the subtle laws of the invisible. The pink Himalayan salt absorbs vibrations that we cannot name but that our hearts can feel. Fear, resentment, anger, envy. These are not only emotions, they are energies that cling to spaces and suffocate the spirit. When the salt is placed with intention, it begins to drink these energies, cleansing the environment so that harmony can return. The effect is not only external. The person living in this purified space begins to think differently, to act with clarity, to perceive possibilities where before there was only confusion. How many times have you felt that your own home holds the weight of unspoken words? That even in silence, the walls seem to echo past arguments, failures, or sorrows? What if those invisible residues could be absorbed, erased, transformed? This is what Fatima experienced, and what countless others discover when they awaken the guardian in their house. Still, the mind resists. Could something so simple be real? Is it not? Only psychological, a trick of expectation. But does that truly matter? If the result is peace, if the change brings abundance, is it not proof enough? Even science admits that intention influences matter, that thought changes the body, that observation alters reality. The pink Himalayan salt becomes the meeting point between the visible and the invisible, between belief and experience, between the material and the spiritual. The jar is the instrument, but the transformation is symphonic. It resounds in every corner of life. Then something else happened to Fatima. Money she thought was lost arrived unexpectedly. A family conflict that had dragged on for years dissolved in a single conversation. And for the first time in decades, she slept through the night without waking in anxiety. Were these events coincidence, or were they answers triggered by the silent work of the salt? The question lingered in her mind, yet deep down she felt the truth. When the air clears, life flows. When the shadows lift, opportunities enter. It is not magic, it is alignment, and alignment changes everything. Now pause for a moment. If this is possible in one home, why not in yours? What would it feel like to walk into your house and sense not heaviness, but calm? To feel protected without saying a word? To breathe in peace as naturally as air itself? Would you not want to know how to awaken this force with precision? How to invite it to act fully in your life? Blavatsky insisted that symbols carry their own intelligence. The pink Himalayan salt, though silent, is alive in its symbolic power. When you place it in your home, it is as if you are telling the universe, "Here I am ready, here I choose peace, here I allow abundance." The act itself is a declaration, and declarations reshape destiny. This is why the results may appear in ways that surprise you, through finances, relationships, health, or simply a lightness in your heart. The universe answers the intention, not the form in which you expect the blessing. But let us not be naive. Shadows will resist. There are energies that cling, habits that refuse to leave, cycles that seem eternal. This is why the act of placement must be conscious, filled with purpose, and renewed when necessary. The pink Himalayan salt is not decoration. It is participation. It demands your awareness because without it, the guardian sleeps. With it, the guardian awakens, and nothing remains the same. So ask yourself now, what cycles in your life need breaking? What invisible heaviness has been following you, even when logic says it should have ended long ago? Why does peace seem to vanish just when you need it most? Perhaps these are not accidents. Perhaps they are invitations, urging you to take the next step. Fatima understood this when she saw that her jar was more than an object. It was a mirror. It reflected her willingness to change, her choice to believe, her readiness to release the weight she had carried for too long. And as she accepted this, her house transformed into a sanctuary. The pink Himalayan salt did not only guard the walls, it guarded her heart. It spoke a language of silence that only the soul can understand. And what if you are meant to discover the same? What if the reason you hear these words now is because your own guardian is waiting to be awakened? Can you imagine the relief of finally stepping into a space free of invisible tension, free of energies that do not belong to you? Can you imagine the strength of knowing that your house itself protects you while you rest, while you dream, while you live? This possibility is already here. It only waits for you to choose. As this part draws to a close, let the suspense remain. Because what you have learned so far is only the beginning. Fatima's story is not an isolated miracle. It is a testimony of a law that works when respected. But the mystery deepens. If the jar is truly a guardian, then where it stands, how it is placed, and the silence that surrounds it are the keys to its full power. And these secrets will be revealed, not as superstition, but as the continuation of an ancient wisdom carried across ages. Prepare yourself, for in the next part you will learn how to direct the force, how to choose the exact place where destiny itself can be transformed. When the first guardians were placed in homes thousands of years ago, they were never put randomly. Every culture that used the pink Himalayan salt knew that space carries meaning, that the position of an object determines the flow of unseen currents. The entrance of a house, the corner of a room, the heart of the kitchen, all are not only physical points, but energetic gates. Helena Blavatsky explained that a house is not just shelter, it is an extension of the soul, vibrating with the hidden tensions and desires of those who live within it. To change the energy of the house is to change the destiny of its inhabitants. This is why the exact placement of the jar is so important. It becomes the axis of transformation, a silent sentinel directing invisible forces. Think of the main door. Every day, thousands of energies cross that threshold. Guests bring their moods, strangers leave their impressions, even the air carries vibrations unseen. Studies in environmental psychology reveal that people entering a new space unconsciously absorb its energy within the first 90 seconds. If the space feels heavy, conflict and anxiety rise immediately. If it feels light, trust and calm increase. Imagine then the impact of having a jar of pink Himalayan salt guarding that threshold, absorbing shadows before they step inside, filtering what is heavy and allowing only what is light to cross. Families who have tried this report fewer arguments after visits, less fatigue, and even fewer unwanted guests. Coincidence or the natural effect of a silent guardian at the door? Now imagine placing the jar just behind the door, where it cannot be seen, but always acts. Many who feel trapped in cycles of closed opportunities have discovered that this placement works like a symbolic unlocking. A woman in Sao Paulo said that after placing her jar there, she received 3 job offers in the same week, after months of rejection. A man in Toronto reported that old debts he had given up on were suddenly paid. It is as if every time the door opens, a new possibility also enters. Statistics show that 1 in 3 people who practice household rituals of protection report unexpected financial relief within a month. Could it be that the placement behind the door, representing transition and opportunity, activates not only psychological openness, but also aligns with hidden energetic laws? Consider also the corners of the house, those forgotten spaces where dust and silence gather. Feng Shui practitioners, as well as modern architects, recognize that corners often accumulate stagnant energy, producing unease and even health problems. Placing a jar of pink Himalayan salt there is like lighting an invisible lamp. Families describe the atmosphere becoming clearer, as if a window had been opened. Researchers studying environmental stress found that reorganizing or cleansing corners reduced anxiety in 40% of participants. When combined with the silent power of salt, these corners stop being places of decay and become sources of renewal. But perhaps the most sacred place is the kitchen. For centuries, cultures have considered the kitchen the heart of the house, the altar where sustenance is prepared. It is no accident that grandmothers in Mexico, India, and Italy whispered blessings over food. When a jar of pink Himalayan salt is placed in the kitchen, it is not only protecting a space, it is blessing the act of nourishment. Families who try this often notice a subtle but profound shift. Meals become calmer, gratitude increases, and even health improves. Nutritionists confirm that the emotional atmosphere during meals influences digestion and long-term well-being. Could it be that the silent guardian in the kitchen is restoring not only harmony, but also the physical health of those at the table? The story of Gabriela from Guadalajara illustrates this. Skeptical but curious, she placed her jar behind the entrance door. At first, she felt nothing. Days passed. But then she noticed her son, who had been unemployed for months, suddenly received a delayed payment and found work again. Her house felt lighter, as if a curtain had been lifted. She never told her family about the jar, yet they all began to behave differently. Her son laughed more. Her husband no longer came home with a heavy expression, and she herself felt stronger. How could a small jar bring such changes? Perhaps it was not the jar itself, but the law it activated, a law that cultures across centuries had never forgotten. Yet placement is only half the story. The guardian's body, the container, also matters. Blavatsky often said that form and essence are inseparable. The jar you choose amplifies or weakens the vibration of the salt. Glass, with its transparency, acts as a mirror of intention, multiplying what is placed within it. Ceramics, born of earth and fire, offer stability and permanence, holding the energy firmly like a vault. But plastic and metal, products of artificial processes, scatter the vibration, weakening the guardian's effect. Psychologists studying ritual objects confirm that natural materials amplify the perceived sacredness of a practice, making it more effective not only energetically but also mentally. Consider the story of Rosa in Querétaro. She inherited a small ceramic jar from her mother and decided to fill it with pink Himalayan salt. She placed it in her kitchen corner, silent and unnoticed. Within days, she reported feeling her home more welcoming, as if warmth had returned. Shortly after, her niece arrived with news of a new job opportunity that lifted the entire family. Rosa believed it was not only the salt, but the memory of her mother's jar combined with the guardian energy that changed the air of the house. When asked, she smiled and said, "It feels like my mother still watches over us." The choice of container carried ancestral memory, multiplying its strength. But let us not forget the night. While the day is full of movement and distraction, it is during the night that the guardian works most intensely. Blavatsky reminded us that when the conscious mind sleeps, the unconscious opens its doors. The salt, resting in silence, absorbs the dense vibrations that settle during the day. Many people who try this report better sleep, fewer nightmares, and waking with unexpected clarity. Studies show that 60% of people worldwide struggle with sleep quality. Could a simple guardian, quietly working through the night, be part of the solution? Alfonso from Merida believed so. He placed his jar in a dark corner of his bedroom. Days later, he noticed his dreams were no longer chaotic but lucid, sometimes even guiding his choices. Once he dreamed of numbers that led him to make a financial decision that changed his life. Coincidence? Or the whisper of a guardian dissolving shadows while he slept? Here is the surprise. Modern science begins to confirm what the ancients knew. Salt crystals are natural absorbers of moisture and negative ions, both linked to air purification and mental clarity. Himalayan salt lamps became popular for this reason, but the humble jar of crystals, hidden in silence, holds the same essence. We may call it energy, vibration, or chemistry, but the effect remains. Spaces feel lighter, and lives respond to that shift. The question that rises now is this: if placement, material, and even timing matter so much, what other, hidden factors determine the full power of the guardian? Could there be additional secrets, known only to those who observed the salt for centuries, passed down quietly from one generation to the next? The answer is yes, and the path to uncover them leads us deeper into the invisible, where intention, renewal, and the cycles of nature intertwine. In the next part, you will discover not only how to maintain the guardian alive, but how to strengthen it beyond measure, making it more than an object, making it a living ally that works with you day and night. There comes a moment when knowledge is no longer enough. A truth can inspire us, it can move our hearts, but if it is not lived, it remains only a beautiful idea. Helena Blavatsky reminded us that wisdom must be embodied, otherwise it dissolves into shadows. The pink Himalayan salt has been revealed to you not as decoration, but as a living guardian, a bridge between the visible and invisible. Now the question is no longer whether it works, but whether you are ready to make it part of your daily life. Change begins with action, and the path ahead is simpler than you may imagine. The first step is intention. Do not take a jar and fill it with salt as if it were a routine task. Pause before you begin. Hold the crystals in your hands and remember that they carry the memory of ancient seas, that they are fragments of time older than any human life. Feel gratitude for their presence, and in silence, declare your purpose. It can be a phrase like, "May this home be a place of peace, health, and abundance." Your words are not decoration. They are vibrations, and vibrations awaken the guardian. When you speak with sincerity, you set in motion a law that responds to you. The second step is placement. Ask yourself, what space in your home feels heavy? Where do arguments usually begin? Where do you feel the air pressing on you? That is where your guardian should stand. At the entrance, it protects from what comes in. Behind the door, it opens opportunities. In dark corners, it clears stagnation. In the kitchen, it blesses food and family. Choose one place to begin and let the guardian work silently. Remember, you do not need many. One jar placed with purpose is more powerful than many scattered without intention. The third step is observation. Do not expect fireworks or instant miracles. Pay attention to small changes. Notice if the air feels lighter, if conversations are calmer, if you sleep more deeply, if unexpected solutions appear. These are signs that the salt is working, dissolving what was heavy and making space for what is new. When you see these signs, acknowledge them. Gratitude amplifies the effect. Say to yourself, "The guardian is awake." This strengthens your bond with it, making the process more conscious. The fourth step is renewal. Like a sponge, the salt becomes saturated over time. Replace it once a month or during the new moon, the symbol of new beginnings. When you remove the old salt, do not throw it in the trash without thought. Bury it in the earth or release it into running water, thanking it for its work. This act of respect keeps the cycle alive. Then refill your jar and renew your intention. In this way, the guardian never weakens, it grows stronger with each renewal. The fifth step is amplification. If you wish, you may add elements with symbolic meaning. A bay leaf for prosperity, cinnamon for open paths, or cloves to protect against envy. These are not mandatory, but they are allies, ancient companions that enrich the vibration of your guardian. You can also expose the jar to moonlight, especially during the full moon, to recharge its energy. Such gestures may seem small, but in the language of symbols, they are powerful declarations of your choice to live with clarity. And finally, the sixth step is integration. Do not see this only as a ritual separate from your life. See it as part of your daily rhythm. Each time you look at the jar, remember that you are not powerless. You are shaping the energy of your home. You are protecting your heart. You are opening doors for abundance. Let this awareness influence your actions, your words, your relationships. The guardian in the jar reflects the guardian within you. When you live with this consciousness, you carry protection wherever you go. Now ask yourself, what is the cost of not acting? To continue with the same cycles, the same weight, the same unanswered questions. And what might happen if you give yourself permission to try, to invite this silent ally into your home? This is not superstition. It is participation in a universal law. The salt does not replace your choices, but it creates the space for better choices to manifest. It clears the path so that abundance and peace can enter. All it asks is that you begin. So I invite you now to take the first step. Prepare your jar of pink Himalayan salt. Place it with intention. Speak your words with sincerity. Observe the signs and renew the guardian with gratitude. This is not a ritual for others to see. It is a sacred dialogue between you and the unseen. Trust that every gesture matters, and that the smallest act of faith can open the greatest doors. If these words resonate with you, do not let this moment pass. Take action today, and as part of this journey, share your intention. Subscribe to this channel because only by walking together can we strengthen this community of light. Like this video if it inspired you, and in the comments, write your questions, your experiences, or even your doubts. If you wish, do it anonymously. Your words may guide another soul who, like you, is searching for peace and abundance. Together, we create not only a ritual, but a circle of strength that extends across borders. Remember, every declaration is a seed and every action is a door. Let this be the moment you decide to open yours.